my name is Ashley, and today I'm going to be doing a cooking program with you guys. So I'm super excited. I enjoy cooking, and I especially enjoy Star Wars. So Star Wars inspired cooking just really speaks to me, and I hope that you feel the same way. So I'm glad that you could join me on this culinary adventure. It's gonna be interesting. I may or may not be a good cook. I think the things that I make are edible, but there is some contention around that. So just stick with me. If I can make this, you can make this. It's super simple, and I think we're gonna have a lot of fun. So the thing that I'm going to be making today is a recipe out of this book. It's super cool. It's called The Geeky Chef Strikes Back, and it's all these awesome recipes from like geeky things. So movies, TV shows, books. It's super awesome. It's got all kinds of stuff in here from Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, stuff from the 60s. Pretend that didn't happen. It's fine. This is gonna be great. Trust me. But yeah, all kinds of fun stuff. Even stuff from like Minecraft is in here, and it's super cool. So the author is Cassandra Reeder, and I would suggest that you guys check this out from the library. So yeah, let's get started. We're going to make Yoda's root leaf soup today. So it's super, super simple, really cheap. And like I said, if I can do it, you can definitely do it. So I hope that you guys have a lot of fun. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the ingredients first. The ingredients that I tried to murder, apparently. So first off, you're gonna want a couple of onions. It said it wanted two medium-sized onions, and that's gonna be in our soup base. So we're gonna start off by sauteing some veggies and getting started that way. What else is in the soup base? Garlic. 4 cloves of garlic. I usually like to do a little bit more, so I'll probably do like 6. Honestly, you can never have too much garlic in here. It calls for garlic powder, what is this? Onion powder, salt and pepper, of course. It also, I'm insane, apparently. It's fine. Today is the day that I kill all the ingredients. These are bay leaves. It called for fresh bay leaves, but I could not find any at the store. So I just have some dried bay leaves, and I'm gonna use that in there. Don't tell anybody, it's fine. And parsley flakes is also gonna be in there. What else? I have some avocado oil, because that's just what I had. It calls for olive oil, so if you have olive oil, that's perfect, or you could also use butter. We've got vegetable broth over here. That's gonna be the main like base, the liquid in our soup. I've got potatoes because root. Oh my gosh, I swear I'm not trying to do that. This is insane. I'll get that later, it's fine. It called for 2 potatoes, but I feel like these are kind of small, so I might do 3 unless I just, yeah, murdered that one over there. We've got it calls for lemon juice. I decided to do a fresh lemon. I will squeeze that. We've got a head of cabbage, which seems like a lot, but whatever. And some celery. It called for 2 stalks, but these were really small. They were like the pre-cleaned ones, so I'm just gonna go with 4. It'll be great. And then these giant leeks right here. It calls for 2 leeks. So I think I'm gonna put both of them in there. They just feel really large. So maybe I won't do all of the leafy parts. I don't know. We'll see what happens when I chop them up. So, and then finally some parsley, some flat leaf parsley that we're gonna put in there. So that's all you need, which is like, wow, that's so easy, right? And she mentions in the cookbook she wanted to do, it's obviously a vegetable-based soup because it's root leaf soup. So she's got some root vegetables and some leafy greens with the leeks and the parsley and the cabbage in there. So we're gonna get started. I will admit this is the first time I've made it. So you will be experiencing all of this with me. It will be a journey, and it'll be so fun and probably something to laugh at because there's probably gonna be more disasters happening. It's gonna be great. Let's get started chopping up some veggies for our soup base. Okay, so first off, I'm going to chop up my onions. I've peeled the skin off. I have cut off the tops and the roots of them, and I'm just gonna give them a good dice. And this is basically a game of speed because you want to chop them as fast as you can without like killing yourself before the floodgates open and you just start crying a lot of tears, because that's what happens to me when I cut up onions. I love them to death, but I'm like, why are you so hard to chop? Because you just make me cry all the time. One of the best tricks for onions is to get sweet onions, not just yellow onions. Those are a lot easier for your eyes to handle for some reason. So like I'm still not crying. I mean, I feel it. They're like prickling in there. The ones from Costco are like the best. These ones are not those ones, so I probably will cry. But it is what it is. So I've got them cut this way, and then I go through. Oh, see, I feel the tears coming. They're like, oh my gosh, you just want to be sad. No, I don't want to be sad. I want to cut my onions in pieces. Thank you. In pieces. Okay. So I've got them sliced this way. Now I'm going to slice them this way to kind of get them into little dicey pieces. I always have my fingers tucked under so that you don't chop them off. It's kind of hard, but it does the job. Oh, see, now I'm crying. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm talking too much and I'm not chopping fast enough. So now you have these beautiful diced, mostly diced onions. Okay, why are these ones like that? Give them another rough chop through. Oh my gosh. I can barely see. It's great. If you see any big chunks, make sure to get those down and chopped. So I'm going to go ahead and, don't touch your eyes with your onion fingers. Would not recommend. I'm going to go ahead and chop the rest of these and just cry all my feelings out. And I'll be right back. Okay, so now what you're gonna do is you're gonna go ahead and turn on the heat on medium-high under your big soup pot and grab your oil of choice. And it says to do 2 tablespoons, so I'm gonna eyeball it and say that that is 2 tablespoons. Sure, I'm sure it'll be perfect. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and let that heat up for like a minute or 2. So not very long, but we just wanna give it time to warm up in the pan. And then I'm going to go ahead and add all of my onions. So I'm gonna let that heat and warm up and then put the onions in there in 1 second. Alrighty, so now my oil has had a chance to heat up in the pot. So it looks beautiful. Now I'm gonna add in my onions and try not to get them everywhere. Alright, so don't let it heat up that long. I obviously left it way too long. It was probably like 3 minutes, honestly. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and scoop all my onions in there. Wow, you didn't think cooking would be so exciting, did you? Okay. And of course, some got everywhere, as usual. That's like a lot of onions. Okay, it's fine. Got my trusty wooden cooking spoon, and I'm going to go ahead and give those a stir. They look beautiful, but they have some skin in them. Let's not do that. Alright. Now I've got it on medium. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my salt and give it a nice, what the heck kind of salt is this? Oh, they changed it. It's like, ew. Okay, I've got different salt because that salt was weird. So I'm going to go ahead and give it some turns. I mean, like whatever salt works, but that was like, it was like way too coarse. Okay. This has calmed down a little bit. We're gonna let this cook for like 4 to 5 minutes. We want the onions to be translucent. So you want them to be kind of see-through so they're not just like a white color. So we're gonna let that cook. I'm gonna go ahead and turn up the heat a little bit more. Gorgeous. Okay, I'm not gonna leave that in there. Don't leave your utensils in your hot pot. And now I'm going to cut up my leeks and my celery. Alrighty, so now I've got my massive leeks that I could like hide behind. It's like a tree, honestly. I'm like, no. I'm gonna cut them up. I gave them a lovely bath to wash all of the dirt off of them. There was like a weird amount of dirt on them, so don't know what that was about. And it says, what does it say in here? It says, thinly sliced with the white and light green parts. I'm not exactly sure what that means. I kind of feel like I should cut them in half and then thinly slice them. And I'm going to do that because they're so big. So I'm going to go ahead and cut them in half down the middle. Let's hope it's the right thing. That's all I can say. And, ugh, I feel like hard to work with. Okay. Whoa. see. So now I've got them like this, and I'm going to turn them over, and now I'm going to give them a slicey slice. So we're going to cut them as thin as we can, and my knife needs to be sharper. It's not super great. So let's cut these up. Make sure you're stirring your onions occasionally and checking on them. They look gorgeous. Alright, so now I've got the leeks all sliced up. They are not quite as thin as I would love them to be, but they'll do. It'll be fine. It'll be great. I didn't use all of the green part because they were so big, so I'm just going to go ahead and toss those. And yeah, I went ahead and put these in a bowl to keep them off of the cutting board so I had enough room. So now I'm going to go ahead and go in with my celery and chop these bad boys up. So I'm going to chop off the ends. Throw them away. Alright. Celery is like so satisfying to chop. I love it. Okay. They are beautiful. We've got celery, leeks. Let's add these guys. Leeks in. Celery in. Beautiful. Okay. I'm going to add a little more salt because I feel like it. And this is also the part that we add the pepper. So I'm not a huge pepper person. I'm a huge baby when it comes to that. So I'm just going to add a little bit. Okay. Give it the old stir again. And I'm going to let that just think about it for a while. And I'm going to stir it every once in a while. Give it about 5 or 6 minutes. Have that up on medium. And when that's ready, we will move on to our next step. All right, and while that is cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and chop up my cabbage. And we're gonna add that in after that's been cooking for a little bit. So, chopped cabbage. Wow, that does not give us a ton of information. So, chopped cabbage. Okay. Cabbage are exciting things. They like to be hard to chop. So I like to cut out like the big root part, I guess you would call it, there. And I gave it a little wash, but I think I will remove... Come on, little guy. I think I will remove the outer layers to be extra safe. Voila. Voila. Okay. So I guess we're just going to chop this into chunks. That's what chopped means, I suppose. So I'm going to kind of do the same thing that I did with my onion, I guess. Which is just slice it all this way and then slice it all that way. So a nice little cross section. I'll be honest, I'm not a pro at chopping cabbage, so we'll see how this goes. Seems like it'll be easy enough. Just make sure that you're being really safe with your knife. Don't go too fast if you're not comfortable with it. And try not to make a huge mess. I'm kind of making a mess because I'm kind of a hurricane in the kitchen. It's fine. This feels right. This feels like chopped. It's perfect. So do whatever your heart tells you to do. Just listen to that guy and it'll lead you correctly, hopefully. Or you could follow me and do this, and so they're in little pieces like that, and I think that that's perfect. So, what was I saying about cleaning? Yes. It's easier if you clean as you go. So as you are cooking, let's stir this. As you're cooking everything up, oh, these look beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna turn it down because I'm not quite ready to add my cabbage yet. But that is thinking about it. But as you go, just try to grab stuff and throw it in the trash so you don't have a ton of things laying around and taking up a bunch of room. Because it's a lot easier at the end if you've been cleaning as you've gone. Alright, so now I've got all of my cabbage chopped, and I'm going to go ahead and add it into the soup. And honestly, my soup pan is filling up a little bit, so I feel like there's a lot going on here. No, it's fine. It cooked down. It's great. I don't know that I want to add all of my cabbage, though. Yeah, make sure to be careful with your hot pan and use a hot Wow, these are so many veggies. I love it. This is gonna be so good for me. So I'm gonna add like a handful more of this baby. Or maybe another one. Gorgeous. And now we're also going to add our garlic. So, our handy dandy garlic press. Here it is. Beautiful. And let me grab my garlic. And I'm going to squeeze these bad boys in here. Bam. And I like to scrape it off on the side. And I'll take these out, throw them away. You could also dice up your garlic if you don't have a garlic press. But that just takes a lot longer, so whatever you have available. You could also use garlic powder instead of fresh garlic, which is like a sin according to my grandma, but you do you. Whatever you have on hand, as long as you're cooking and having fun in the kitchen, and that's the whole point, right? Awesome. And I ended up only doing 4 because I only had 4 garlic cloves, so be that as it may. So you can see my veggies here, looking very green, very delightful. And they're gonna think about that and sit there for a little while. And I'm gonna turn them up because I had them on low because I was still chopping up my cabbage. Alrighty, so I have peeled my potatoes and I'm going to chop them into chunks. So I go ahead and slice them in half. And for these, you just have to be really careful with the knife, obviously. Please don't cut yourself. So I cut them in half. I'm going to cut them this way and then this way. So it's another chop. I'm going to leave these in kind of bigger chunks. What does it say? Peeled and chopped. Again, it doesn't really give us how big we should chop them. So with potatoes, they take a lot longer to cook. So the smaller that you cut them, the faster it's going to be to cook them. So I cut them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I did like 5 slices across. And these are kind of tall. My pieces are like little tiny French fries. So I'm going to go ahead and give them 1 chop across the middle so that they're in nice squares. So my next one, I'm going to cut again this way. So it's in pieces like that. And then I'm going to chop it in like 1, 2, 3, 4 slices. And then chop, 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 chop. Gorgeous. Those are nice. So you can see they're in little cubes like that. So I don't want them too big. But you also don't want to make them too small. This one is thin enough that I'm just going to like that. Beautiful. This one, see how thick it is? I'm going to go ahead and cut it again in half. Like that. Now we're going to slice this way. Slippery little devils. Okay. And now we're going to cut them this way. Perfection. Those are some darn beautiful potato choppings, if I do say so myself. Here you go, little guys. Be free. And, wow, I'm really getting them everywhere. Now I'm going to get a liquid measuring cup right over here, and it calls for 6 cups of broth. So I got my broth right here, 6 cups, right? Yes, 6 cups of vegetable broth. So you can see I have vegetable broth. And don't spill it everywhere. I'm a mess. I'm so sorry. Cooking is like an adventure. It's all good. So here's 2 cups. This supposedly has 4 cups per box, but it feels like it's not. 2 cups. That looks good. Sure. Oh yeah. It's pretty vegetable-y. I feel like my leeks and my onions were kind of huge, so I would suggest using a little bit less if you were me. I'm actually going to put in a tiny bit more broth. Sure. Beautiful. The beauty of cooking is that you can just think on your feet and just do whatever. I'm not bad at cooking. I'm bad at baking because that requires a lot of precision. This is a lot more like, oh yeah, you can add a little of this, a little of that, and usually it doesn't hurt it too much. Now, I'm going to add in, it wants me to add my bay leaves and my parsley. And remember, I didn't have fresh bay leaves. I just have these. So I'm gonna add in they're just whole dried bay leaves. I'll show you. Just gonna add one. And the trick to that is not eating it, because that would be disgusting. So I'm just gonna throw that bad boy in there, and then when I eat it, I just have to be careful and look out for my bay leaf. Before I serve it, I'll probably look around and pull it out. I'm gonna go ahead and wash my parsley and give it a chop. What does it say about my parsley? Chopped, yes, 3 tablespoons chopped. So let me wash this guy. Alrighty then, we've got our parsley washed, beautiful. I feel like 3 tablespoons will probably be like that. We'll see. I'm just gonna do a rough chop. And you'll see how I'm like leaving the tip of my knife on the cutting board and then rocking it back and forth. It's a lot faster than if you were just gonna go chop, chop, chop like that. You can also, when I cut herbs, I like to put my hand on the knife so that it's easy to rock. And we chop, 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 chop. That feels pretty well chopped. Here I have my tablespoon. 1, 2, not quite 3, so let me chop a little more. And try not to get many of the stems in there. Like if you see that, you say, oh my gosh, Ashley, what are you doing? That's way too much stem. I know, I'm sorry, I'm a human, I have failings. I don't chop my parsley perfect every time. I also don't say the word parsley perfect every time, I usually mess it up. All right, and that's 3. So let's grab these guys, scoop it up, and put it in our soup. Sprinkle it in there. And where's my handy dandy spoon? Now I'm gonna stir it up in there. Gorgeous. Oh yeah, so much green, so much beauty. I'll give you a look at what it looks like. Give me 1 second and grab the camera. That, my friends, is some beautiful looking soup. So I'm gonna go ahead and let that simmer. So I'm gonna turn up my heat a little bit to what? Medium high until it simmers. All right, now that I've got that guy, he's not really simmering, but I'm gonna partly cover him and let him simmer. So I've got this lid that actually doesn't fit the pan, but it says partly covered. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave some space for the air to leave, and I'm gonna put it on medium low, and I'm gonna let that sit and simmer for about 45 minutes. So I will set my timer and come back to it after it has stewed in its delightfulness. I will see you soon. All right, so my 45 minutes is up, and I tested it a little bit before then, and the potatoes were just about perfect, so they should be amazing. Let me try one. Amazing. So you want them to be nice and soft so that you're not crunching on potatoes when you're eating your soup. So it looks beautiful. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it off. What it wants me to do right now is add in some all-purpose seasoning, and that's just garlic powder, onion powder, dried parsley, and what else did it have in there? And salt and pepper. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that in there. I'm gonna do a little more. This is a good time to put it in and try it and taste it and see if you like it. If it needs a little more of this, a little more of that, whatever your heart desires. Let's see. That is really good. I think I'm gonna put in the rest of it. It's got the little recipe in the cookbook. I think it's 1 part salt, 1 part pepper, 2 parts dried parsley, and 3 parts onion, and then the garlic powder each. And I went ahead and put all of that in there. I did a ½ teaspoon for each part. And here is my beautiful bay leaf. So I will remove that so I don't crunch on it. That's just in there to kind of infuse it and give it some flavor. And this bad boy looks pretty hearty. So it had me put in that. Honestly, I might add a little more salt. Yeah. I'm gonna add, it needs a lot more salt. The salt really just brings out the flavor of everything. And you don't want to over salt it, but under salted is also not great. So you want to hit that sweet spot. And this is looking hearty and beautiful. So I'm gonna go ahead and dish up. Put that in here. Look at that stuff. Wow, that looks straight from Dagobah. Incredible. So if you would like to eat like Yoda, I would suggest that you give this recipe a try. It was pretty fun. There was a lot of chopping, I will admit, but it was pretty fun. And then I'm gonna give it a little squeeze of lemon juice, which is what they said to do right before serving. So, right, here she is, the final product. I don't know if you can see that, but you can see it looks pretty green. Honestly, it looks very Yoda-like. Like, I think this is pretty spot on for a root leaf soup. So, it's pretty hot, so careful. But that's really good. That is delicious. I think that would be absolutely perfect for a cold winter's night. Love it. It's really hearty. It looks like it'll be really filling. And the flavors have all just really melded together in that broth. So it's super, super yummy. And it's nice if you're vegetarian, it doesn't have any meat in it, which is awesome. You could add in some shredded chicken or something if you want, but if not, then this is amazing just as it is. So thank you for joining me. I hope that you make some root leaf soup as well. Maybe have a Star Wars themed dinner or something. It's really fun to cook with friends and family, so I would suggest grabbing some buddies and chopping up some vegetables and making some soup. So bon appetit.